Okay, imagine there's this kind of hidden switch, right, in your brain. A huge productivity booster that, well, apparently it's something like 87% of us haven't really found yet. And there's fascinating research, Harvard stuff, saying that finding it, flipping it, could actually double your chances of hitting your goals.
It sounds almost like science fiction, doesn't it?
It really does.
Yeah.
But what if it's real? Let's spend the next few minutes figuring out how you might actually find this switch and, maybe see a real difference pretty quickly.
Yeah, let's dive into that. We're talking about something called mental contrasting. It's maybe a hidden mental fitness tool.
Mental contrasting. Okay.
It's not just some abstract idea. It's based on solid psychological science. And it offers a surprisingly effective way to get past those productivity blockers we all run into.
Oh, definitely. We've all been there. Get all fired up about some new productivity trick, right?
Totally.
Like time blocking looks so neat on paper, or inbox zero sounds like actual heaven. The Pomodoro technique, promising total focus.
You jump right in, set it all up.
And for a little while, it works. You feel like, yes, finally cracked it. But then, things start to slide.
That initial feeling of, I've got this, is powerful. That structure feels good.
It does.
But yeah, these external methods, they often hit a wall, don't they?
They really do. Suddenly, those perfect time blocks feel, I don't know, tight.
Yeah.
Restrictive. Unexpected stuff pops up, throws the whole schedule out the window. You're constantly rescheduling.
Right. The plan falls apart.
And inbox zero. It just feels like you're shoveling sand against the tide.
Kind of burning.
And the Pomodoro, those short breaks, somehow they just get longer and longer.
Yeah. That's clear.
Before you know it, the timer's just like sitting there. Another forgotten gadget.
It's such a common pattern. Someone starts Pomodoro really means it loves the focused bursts.
Yeah.
But then, just a quick email check turns into 10-minute scrolling.
Yep. Guilty.
The lines get blurry and the whole technique kind of loses its punch because these methods, they focus on the outside structure, right? They often miss the internal stuff, the mental landscape. That's where this hidden switch idea comes in.
And when these amazing techniques inevitably fail us, what's the first thing we do?
Oh, I know this one.
Blame ourselves.
Yeah.
I'm just not disciplined. I don't have enough willpower. It's so easy to feel like you're the problem, isn't it? Especially when it seems to work for everyone else online.
Exactly. And that cycle, you get your hopes up, then you're disappointed. It does more than just waste time. It actually starts to wear down your confidence.
Yeah, it does.
Makes you hesitant to even try the next new thing. It feels like, why bother? Leads to this feeling of just giving up on it.
Which really makes you stop and think, are we just putting, like, Band-Aids on a deeper problem? Are these fancy tools and apps just missing the point entirely? Could the real issue be how we're thinking about our goals, how we deal with the obstacles inside our own heads, not just needing a better calendar app?
That's such a key question. Is the problem the external system, or is it, our internal relationship with what we want to do? With motivation, with commitment. Right. It suggests maybe the issue isn't the technique itself, but this sort of internal friction we all feel when we try to get things done.
So what if the answer isn't another to-do list app or some super complex system? What if it's just a subtle shift? A change in how we actually engage with our own thoughts? Could there be a way to work with how our brain naturally works, maybe even use those internal struggles, those feelings of resistance, to help us instead of letting them trip us up?
Now you're talking. Because really effective productivity, it's not just about shuffling tasks around on a calendar.
Right.
It's fundamentally about understanding and, working with our inner world, our thoughts, feelings, motivations, all that stuff that actually drives what we do or don't do. And a lot of the popular methods, they just kind of gloss over that internal part.
And this constant internal battle, this feeling of mental drag, you called it.
Yeah, mental drag. Good term for it.
That feeling where even simple things feel like wading through mud. It costs more than just lost time, doesn't it?
Oh, way more.
It's like driving with the handbrake slightly on.
Yeah.
Everything takes more effort. You feel drained after doing things that shouldn't really be that hard.
Exactly. And think about the sneaky ways it shows up. Like, tasks just take way longer than they should. You find yourself rereading the same paragraph over and over because your mind just wandered off somewhere else.
All the time.
The quality of your work might dip. You notice little mistakes. And even tiny setbacks like a printer jam feel disproportionately frustrating.
Oh, yeah. Disproportionate is the word.
It takes up so much mental energy, and this low-level friction, it just becomes your normal. You don't even realize you're not operating at your best.
And professionally. Wow, does that add up?
Yeah.
Those last-minute scrambles to hit deadlines become the norm, not the exception. Creative thinking kind of gets squashed. And you might find yourself shying away from bigger, more challenging projects.
Yeah.
Not because you can't do them, but because you just doubt you have the focus or the energy to see them through.
That hesitation is huge. It often comes from just anticipating how mentally exhausting it's going to be.
Yeah.
And that can absolutely lead to career stagnation. You miss out on opportunities, maybe not because of skill, but because the perceived effort just feels too high.
Yeah.
Creates this quiet background hum of dissatisfaction with where you are professionally.
And it absolutely bleeds into your personal life, too.
Yeah.
After a whole day fighting to stay on track at work, how much energy do you really have left for your family, for friends?
Very little, usually.
Social invites get turned down. Personal goals, especially health stuff, exercise,
Yeah.
eating well, they just get constantly shoved aside.
Mm-hmm.
That plan to finally start exercising, maybe tomorrow.
Yeah.
You're just too mentally wiped out to even think about changing clothes.
Exactly. And decision fatigue is a big player there. Your brain's tired after making choices all day or resisting distractions.
Right.
So it defaults to the easiest thing. Ordering takeout instead of cooking.
Yeah.
Skipping the gym. It's not always conscious neglect. It's often just running on empty.
Think about someone, maybe they really want to learn guitar.
Mm.
They buy a nice one, maybe even book a lesson. They're genuinely excited.
Yep. Classic scenario.
But every evening after work, they look at it and just feel too tired, mentally spent. Tomorrow, they say. Every day. Weeks go by, months. And that guitar just sits there, collecting dust. A sad little reminder of something they wanted to do but just couldn't start.
And that happens with so many things, doesn't it? Writing a book, learning a language, starting that side project. That lack of mental energy feels like this giant wall stopping you before you even begin.
And the emotional side of this, it's
Yeah.
heavy. That constant nagging guilt about stuff you haven't done.
Oh, yeah.
Anxiety about falling further behind. Just this
Yeah.
general undercurrent of, I'm not doing what I want to be doing.
It's draining.
It can even feed into bigger mental health struggles, right? Like anxiety cycles or those feelings that come with depression. That gap between intention and action is just exhausting to live in.
That internal fight is incredibly taxing. And it's not just about having an occasional off day. When it's your regular pattern, it slowly eats away at your quality of life.
Definitely.
It affects your joy, relationships, health, just your overall sense of fulfillment. And those productivity systems that failed, they often make it worse because they don't fix the real issue, how we manage our own internal state.
So just take a second. Imagine, what could your life feel like if you could reliably tap into your focus, your motivation, when you actually needed it? Approaching your work with energy, clarity, having mental bandwidth left over at the end of the day for things you enjoy, for people you care about, feeling that satisfaction of making actual, consistent progress.
It's a powerful thought. And that gap, that disconnect between wanting to be productive and our brain not really being set up to support it, that's exactly what we need to bridge. Just wanting isn't enough.
Okay. Which brings us back to this different kind of tool. One designed specifically to close that gap.
Right. So is there another way, something beyond the lists and the apps, something that works more fundamentally with how we think about our goals?
There is, and it's called mental contrasting.
Mental contrasting. Okay, tell me more. This isn't just some like fluffy self-help idea.
No, definitely not.
No.
It's actually grounded in decades of serious scientific research, looking into how we pursue goals, what makes us stick with them, what actually motivates us. A lot of the pioneering work comes from a psychologist named Gabrielle Oettingen.
Gabrielle Oettingen. Okay, so it's got research behind it.
A lot of research. A really robust empirical foundation. Study after study showing it works across all sorts of different areas of life.
So why isn't it like everywhere? Why haven't we all heard of it like we've heard of Pomodoro or getting things done?
Well, a couple of reasons probably. One, it's not easy to package up into a slick app, you know.
No quick fix. Exactly. It's an internal cognitive process, something you do in your mind. And maybe the bigger reason, it feels a bit backward at first.
Backward. How so?
Because we're always told, think positive, visualize success.
Right. Totally. Positive vibes only.
Mental contrasting actually asks you to deliberately think about the obstacles, the things standing in your way.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that does sound counterintuitive. Focusing on the negatives.
It can seem that way on the surface, which might make it less immediately attractive than just pure positive thinking. It doesn't give you that instant warm, fuzzy feeling of imagining everything going perfectly.
Right.
Even though, ironically, that pure fantasy often doesn't lead to actually doing anything.
Okay, so that's the big difference then. Mental contrasting isn't just positive thinking.
Exactly. Positive thinking or just visualization usually focuses only on the good outcome, just picturing success.
Which feels nice.
It does, but some research suggests it can actually backfire sometimes. By making you feel like you've sort of already achieved the goal in your head, it can trick your brain into relaxing, reducing your actual drive to put in the real-world effort.
Huh. Interesting. So mental contrasting adds something else.
It adds a crucial second step. You actively consider the internal obstacles, the things inside you that are stopping you.
Internal obstacles. Okay, like what?
Like procrastination habits, fear of failure, getting easily distracted, feeling overwhelmed, things originating within yourself.
Got it. So like planning a mountain climb. Positive thinking is just picturing the amazing view from the top.
Right. Pure summit focus.
But mental contrasting is picturing that view and then thinking realistically about the tough climb itself, the steep parts, the bad weather, maybe your own fear of heights or lack of stamina.
Precisely. You have the clear vision of where you want to go, the rewarding outcome, but you immediately pair that with a realistic look at the personal internal challenges you'll need to navigate to get there.
Okay, but it's important. This isn't just like being negative
Right.
or making excuses.
Absolutely crucial point. It is not pessimism. It's not about dwelling on everything that could possibly go wrong or generating anxiety or finding reasons not to act.
Okay.
Think of it as structured, realistic optimism. You're still aiming for that positive outcome, but you're doing it with your eyes wide open to your own internal roadblocks, the things within you that tend to trip you up.
Structured, realistic optimism. I like that. It's optimism with a plan B for your own brain.
Kind of, yeah. It intelligently blends that desire for a better future with an honest look at your current internal reality.
So how does it actually work? What are the steps?
It's surprisingly simple, just 2 core steps. First, vividly imagine achieving a specific goal you have, something important to you, and picture the absolute best outcome that would result from achieving it. Really let yourself feel the positive emotions, see the details.
Okay, visualize the win. Feel the good stuff.
Exactly. Then, step 2. Immediately after that, you consciously shift your focus. You vividly imagine the main inner obstacle that's currently standing between you and that goal. The key thing inside you that holds you back.
The main inner obstacle. Got it.
And it's that contrast, that mental back and forth desired future versus inner obstacle that's the magic ingredient. That's where the power comes from.
Okay, but how does just thinking about the good thing and the bad thing actually make you more motivated? How does it flip that switch?
Well, that gets into the really fascinating brain science behind it. It taps into how our brains naturally evaluate goals and decide where to put our energy. We can definitely unpack that.
Yeah, let's...
But the key takeaway for now is mental contrasting gives you a structured way to connect your dreams with the reality of your own internal hurdles. This leads to more purposeful action, less just sitting around wishing. And why isn't it more famous? Probably because its real power is in its depth, not in some flashy, easy-to-market gimmick.
Right. It does seem weird to focus on the problems to get motivated.
Mhm.
We hear stay positive all the time.
It definitely goes against that common advice, doesn't it?
Yeah. So how does deliberately thinking about what's holding you back actually end up increasing your chances of succeeding?
Well, the core finding is just that. Mental contrasting demonstrably leads to much better goal achievement. And the science backing this up is pretty solid.
Right. You mentioned Oettingen's research.
Yes, her work and studies by many others show it works across a huge range of things, studying health goals like diet and exercise, even improving relationships.
Wow.
And in some studies, the success rates literally doubled compared to people who just did positive thinking or were in a control group.
Doubled. That's a massive difference.
It really is. So the main psychological reason why it works seems to be tied into something called expectancy theory.
Expectancy theory.
Basically, when you do mental contrasting, picture the wish, then picture the inner obstacle. Your brain kind of automatically runs a calculation. It assesses the likelihood, your expectancy, of actually achieving that goal, given that internal obstacle you just focused on.
So it's like a subconscious reality check. Okay, I want this, but this is the internal hurdle. Can I actually overcome it?
Exactly. It's often an implicit process happening below conscious awareness. And this assessment leads down one of 2 paths.
Okay, path number 1.
Path 1. If your brain concludes that your expectancy of success is pretty high, like deep down you believe you can actually do this, even with that obstacle, then something really cool happens.
Yeah.
A strong, non-conscious link forms between the goal you want and that specific obstacle.
The obstacle gets linked to the goal. How does that help?
Because the obstacle stops being just a passive barrier in your mind. It becomes actively tied to the actions needed to reach the goal. This connection actually energizes you. It mobilizes mental resources, prompts you to start planning concrete steps. And it essentially turns the obstacle itself into a kind of trigger, a cue that kicks off the actions needed to move towards the goal.
Wow. Okay. So if you think you could beat the obstacle, focusing on it actually makes it a reminder to take action.
Precisely. But what about path number 2? What if the brain's assessment is different?
Right. What if, after thinking about the obstacle, the goal just feels too hard? Like, honestly, I don't think I can overcome that right now.
In that case, mental contrasting usually leads to disengagement from that specific goal.
Disengagement. So you just give up. That sounds bad.
It might sound negative, but psychologically, it's actually seen as adaptive. Think about it. If the realistic chances of success are very low, does it make sense to keep pouring precious energy and resources into it?
Probably not.
Disengaging allows you to conserve that energy and redirect it towards goals that are more achievable for you right now. It's an efficient use of resources.
Okay, that makes sense. It prevents you from banging your head against a wall you can't break down yet.
Exactly. And this is where it really differs from just indulging in positive fantasies.
How so?
When you only fantasize about the positive outcome, your brain gets a little hit of pleasure, like you've already achieved it, without doing any work.
Right, the vicarious success thing.
Yeah. And that can actually lower your motivation because the perceived need for real effort goes down. Mental contracting avoids that trap by immediately grounding the positive vision with the reality check of the internal obstacle.
Okay, and procrastination.
Yeah.
How does this tackle that beast? Because that's a huge one for so many people, myself included.
It hits procrastination head on because it forces you to identify that specific internal reason you procrastinate. Maybe it's feeling overwhelmed, maybe it's perfectionism before you even start the task.
Right, you face it up front in your mind.
Yes. And by pinpointing that obstacle in advance, you're way more likely to actually pre-plan. To think, okay, when I start feeling overwhelmed, what will I do?
The planning part.
And crucially, if you've done the contrasting and still feel the goal is achievable, high expectancy, that mental link you created between the obstacle and the goal strengthens your commitment. It makes it harder to just blow off your intentions when the time comes to act.
Let's use that waking up early example again.
Eh.
Outcome, feeling refreshed, productive morning. Obstacle, that warm, comfy bed, feeling tired, hitting snooze.
The classic inner battle.
Mental contrasting links, that feeling, stay in bed, directly to the need to get up to get that good morning feeling.
Exactly. The obstacle becomes the cue.
And that connection then motivates you to actually make a plan, like putting the alarm clock way across the room the night before.
Precisely. It's not about tricking your brain or forcing willpower. It's about working with its natural abilities, planning, predicting challenges, assessing odds, allocating energy smartly.
So, bottom line, focusing on obstacles works because mental contrasting turns them from roadblocks into fuel, into triggers for planned action, but only for the goals your brain believes are actually worth the effort and achievable.
You got it. It filters your efforts towards what's most likely to succeed.
Okay, the science makes sense. It's actually pretty elegant when you break it down. So how do we actually do this? How do we put mental contrasting into practice easily?
Right, the practical side. The good news is there's a really simple, memorable 4-step framework that brings it all together. It's called WHOOPEE.
WHOOPEE. Okay, sounds fun. What does it stand for?
It's an acronym. WISH, Outcome Obstacle Plan.
Wish Outcome Obstacle Plan.
WHOOPEE, got it.
Think of it as the user manual for mental contrasting. Super straightforward. Let's walk through each step.
Okay, let's WHOOPEE. Step 1, W-wish.
Right. First, you identify a specific goal, something that's genuinely meaningful to you, and also something you feel is achievable, at least potentially. It needs to be concrete, not fuzzy.
So not just be more productive.
Exactly. Too vague, better. I want to complete the first draft of the Miller Report by Friday at 4 p.m. Something specific with a time frame. So take a second now. Think of one specific wish you have.
Okay, yeah, got one. Step 2.
First O outcome. Now, vividly imagine the best possible result of achieving that wish. What's the main benefit? How would it feel? Really picture it for, say, 30 seconds to a minute.
Feel the win again.
Yep. For that report example, maybe it's feeling that huge sense of relief and accomplishment, maybe picturing getting positive feedback. Really focus on the positive feeling.
Okay, feeling it. What's next? The other O. The second O obstacle. Now, the crucial part. You pivot. Honestly identify the main inner obstacle. What is it within you that usually stops you from achieving this kind of wish?
Within me, not blaming external stuff.
Correct. Not, my boss gives me too much work. It has to be internal. Like, for the report, I tend to get distracted by emails and lose focus. Or maybe it's I feel overwhelmed when I start, or my perfectionism makes me procrastinate. Be specific. What's your main inner obstacle for the wish you picked? Visualize encountering it.
Okay, yeah. Identify the pesky inner gremlin. Now what?
Now you arm yourself against it. P-plan. You create a simple but powerful if-then plan.
If-then plan.
The structure is, if the obstacle you just identified occurs, then I will a specific action to overcome it. It has to be concrete and something you can do immediately.
Okay, so for the email distraction obstacle.
The plan could be, if I feel the urge to check emails while working on the report, then I will immediately close my inbox and set a 25-minute timer of focused work. Specific trigger, specific action.
If urged, then close in time. Simple, powerful.
Exactly. Let's do another quick one. Health goal. Wish. Exercise 3 times this week.
Okay.
Outcome. Feeling energized, sleeping better.
Nice.
Obstacle. Feeling too tired and unmotivated after work. That internal feeling.
Yeah, common one.
Plan. If I feel tired and unmotivated after work, then I will immediately put on my workout clothes when I walk in the door.
Removes a barrier.
Yeah.
It makes the next step easier.
Precisely. So, 2 really key things for WHOOP to work well.
Okay.
1, really focus on the critical inner obstacle. What's the core thing inside you? Avoid blaming outside factors.
Oh, and the internal part?
2, make sure that then part of your plan is super concrete and something you can actually do right away. Try harder isn't a plan. Put on workout clothes.
Concrete and executable. Got it.
You can try integrating WHOOP into your routine. Maybe start of the day, start of the week, or even just before you tackle a task, might be tricky. It only takes a few minutes.
Just a few minutes to potentially rewire how you approach the goal.
Exactly. It can make a really surprising difference over time.
So WHOOPEE is the practical toolkit for mental contrasting. Wish, outcome, obstacle, plan.
That's the essence of it.
Okay, so wrapping this up, it feels like the real key to unlocking more consistent productivity, maybe that hidden switch, isn't some external gadget or complex system after all.
Seems not.
It's about using this power of mental contrasting, maybe through the simple WHOOPEE method, to work with our own minds, not against them.
It's about engaging directly with your internal landscape. So here's a challenge for everyone listening.
Okay.
Right now, or as soon as you have a quiet moment, pick one goal, just one specific thing that's important to you, and walk through those 4 WHOOPEE steps in your head.
Wish,
Outcome.
obstacle,
Plan. And actually, we'd love it if you shared the biggest inner obstacle you identify. Maybe drop it in the comments wherever you're listening. It's powerful to see we often face similar internal hurdles.
Yeah, that's a great idea. Shared vulnerability, shared strategies.
Exactly. Remember, building that mental fitness, getting better at achieving what matters to you. It comes from using practical, science-backed tools like WHOOP. It gives you back a sense of control.
It really empowers you. Well, this has been fascinating. Thanks so much for taking this deep dive with us today.
My pleasure. Thank you for joining us.
Bye for now.
And keep learning.